With every year that passes, a new Pokemon game comes out to push the boundaries of what technology can make again. Creating a Pokemon game requires the utmost skill and machinery to produce such a region that looks almost like it could be on Earth itself. So while we aren't entirely sure what that'll end up as in the new year for a continuation to this series, we can still come together to talk about the 5 new main Pokemon games that could be made for 2021. And if all of those are wrong, we can at least say, without a doubt, that this year we'll have a new main Pokemon game. Mostly because the guy who leaked everything in Sword and Shield says he trusts some other guy, and I trust him, so I've created a trust bond with someone I've never met who's just on the internet. And that'll probably go well. Also, they make one every year. Pokemon Let's Go Johto. Now, the first main Pokemon series that a lot of people mention for this year could be another remake of the Generation 2 games, similar to Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. It sounds like a good idea, because this would be another way for the Pokemon Company to remake Generation 1 for the 5th time, with different packaging. A new Gen 2 game with different gameplay mechanics could be a fun journey, but it might not be the remake most Pokemon fans are looking for when Heart Gold and Soul Silver were already great, and having another separate line of remakes continuing on would cause another divide in the Pokemon games, and there's already one in the community, so we don't need another. My Twitter Trust Buddy also said that the Let's Go series is likely to be a one-of series, which I think is a good idea, and why this is at the bottom of the list. But it's still a possibility that a Gen 2 game with a faster paced gameplay could appear and wouldn't be too bad of a relaxing filler game if they didn't have anything major planned. Pokemon Gun. Really, this should be called Pokemon Cap? It's pretty unlikely that the Pokemon Company would make a third single addition to the games, as opposed to say an Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon type of remake. That's why we'll be getting Pokemon DLC Sword and DLC Shield. This time, the games will come polished with all the DLC areas already in the game, and Calyrex now riding Zacian and Zamazenta. It'll be repackaged in glistening plastic wrap for you to open up and say, I gotta play this again? There could be a chance of a Generation 8 continuation game that has some additional areas and a more polished up look that could even include Pokemon that were removed to freshen things up, as well as more Pokemon just like the Ultra Sun and Moon games. But it does seem that the DLC from last year was their own continuation instead of creating even more additions to Galar with 2 more Generation 8 games. Unless they want to complete all of Europe. And that's why we'll be getting DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield's DLC. An idea I always thought would be a fun new main series game would be a remake of all the regions, but not the same way everyone asked for every region being completely recreated into the game. Instead, it would be an episodic adventure with the best from every region, as now that we have 8 generations, you can make 8 main cities from each generation with their own gyms and small quests along the way that represent and combine all the regions and their best parts together. As a full-time Pokemon YouTuber, I don't have the time to play through each game of Pokemon. That's why I'm asking for just the highlights of every game. Since we're already cutting things out of the games, why don't we cut out parts we don't even need from every region and put it together to make a faster-paced, all-fun game so I can get back to being a full-time Pokemon YouTuber? Who really need to get goggles to walk through the sand in Generation 3? That's gone. Why need Cut to get into Litten Surge's gym? Hire a gardener. Only the best quests in my one pieced together region. 8 regional birds, who has time to catch them any? Now there's only 2. We also got rid of all the bugs in the game. The type. Bug catchers have now been replaced by influencers and only use food-based Pokemon. This is the true peak of what every region put together into a game could create for this new year. And thankfully, with my hopes put into 2021, the Pokemon Company will be releasing PokéOne for All, a game where you can have the best of every Pokemon game in one quick playthrough, like a Costco sample tray of each generation. Generation 9. There's a possibility the Pokemon Company could throw us for a surprise and bring out Generation 9 this year. A region that could even add to the surprise for a new generation would be a jungle-based region. We have the new Pokemon movie Secrets of the Jungle. Maybe we move into a more nature-based game with cities interspersed throughout all the trees and foliage. You all liked 4-Tree City, let's just expand that into a region. There needs to be a little more character built into this type of region. Alola had that island feeling, Unova had that bustling city roar stock market feeling. This could really take after things like jungles, parks, and the Amazon rainforest. It'd be the perfect place for a fire-type gym. The atmosphere would really push the look of treacherous terrains and overworld Pokemon finding new places to surprise you with how much greenery there be to hide in. It could be based after Brazil and could create some amazing new animal Pokemon that could even rival the simplicity of Generation 1. Of course, that's just one idea for Generation 9, and the possibilities for a new region are endless as they made 4 regions based on Japan, so really we've got a lot to work with here on Earth. Having an overall style based on a location for the region's Pokemon always seems like a good idea to give them an identity that stands out for their new home. And it'd be great to see something like that if a new generation were to come out this year. But as the usual pattern of Pokemon games is a new generation for 1 year, a continuation after that, and then a remake to make sure the cash flow is still there with already created resources, and then another new generation, the number 1 new main Pokemon game for 2021 is the Diamond and Pearl remakes. In business terms, we like to call this min-maxing your wallet. It is completely possible that any one of these games on this list could be created, but the most likely chance goes to Generation 4 Remake, as this is usually how things go, and the uproar and constant asking, as well as the leaks of the games, do show the guys at the Pokemon Company what people are asking for. It's the most likely region, as every other region has been remade up until Generation 4, and there have been some little Gen 4 Easter eggs in Sword and Shield, so you don't know if the devs are hinting at it or just trolling us. So with this being the highest probable chance to bet on, let's talk about what would make a great Generation 4 remake. It would have to be better than the original games. Now you might think that's simple, but sometimes Pokemon ends up cutting corners. Personally, I would like to see new Megas. In terms of design, and in addition to Pokemon, it felt like a real evolution more than Gigantamax did, and with Generation 4 being known for evolving previous generation Pokemon, they evolved like 20, then it wouldn't be a surprise to bring something back that could give new evolutions or forms to more previous generation Pokemon in a new remake of a game that was known for that. But if we're not having Megas or Gigantamax Pokemon, a new form based on evolutions would be a great throwback to something that the region is known for. Yeah, updated graphics, seeing old cities in a new light are all great and should be packed in, but in the real crux of the decision for this game, we have to make plans like, what about Sinnoh regional forms? A way to bring new Pokemon to a remake by remaking old Pokemon in a new game. Let's get rid of Rhyperior. Rhydon is great. Maybe we just split evolve everyone who got an evolution before just to give them an alternate world of evolving in this new region of Sin. Weavile, meet your new split evolution, we chill. Licky Licky, Looky Looky. Yanmega, Mega Yanmega. What were you thinking here, Pokemon devs? I'm missing out on that one. In terms of gameplay, I don't think there's too much that would need to be overdone to make it enjoyable if it's just an upgraded playthrough of the old games. But seeing new quests that add on to stories like Looker or the Legendaries, and having a brand new post-game with the huge introductions that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire brought can really make something special. Primal forms could be added in, with Primal Dialga being a Pokemon that no one has been able to see in any game besides Mystery Dungeon. And while that might not be canon to new forms in a main Pokemon game remake, this could at least pave the way for a game that's focused around time and space to create an alternate timeline and a different Sinnoh like the Gen 3 remakes pushed in their story. Also bring back Mythical Pokemon Quest. This type of remake has a lot of potential to really set up the storylines that Pokemon like Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina bring in, and especially with Arceus getting a chance at redemption as a possible main character this time.